All right. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate everybody supporting. Everybody upstairs coming down too. This is pretty awesome. So on behalf of Jody Allen, the whole Seahawk family, we're all here to celebrate an awesome extension for the Seahawks. Russell Wilson, the 12s. Everybody's really fired up. Big process. This is a day that Paul Allen would have been extremely proud of and excited for Russ. Jody's taken over and was extremely supportive throughout the process. I want to thank Russell's agent, Mark Rogers, for his effort, as well as Matt Thomas, all the effort that everybody's put into this. And, it's a big day. Pretty awesome thing. We never were able to have a press conference with Russ because he was a third-round draft pick, and the last time we did this, it was like we had to send him right out to the field to get going. So it was right before training camp. So, Pete, you got anything to add?
Just echo the thoughts about it's such a big day for us to look ahead based on the great history that we've had in playing together, coaching together, and working together. To know that we get another whole episode for our fans and for the 12s and for the organization and for Russell and his family too. This is a really exciting day for us, and we're really proud of it and just happy to be here. So congrats, brother.
Thank you. Yeah. I think first of all, it's exciting to be here. For John, and Pete, you guys, you're the ones that had the courage to take me. You guys took me. You decided to choose a guy 5'10" and some change.
5'11", come on.
Almost. Out of Richmond, Virginia, where everybody told me I wouldn't do it. And I VA, Dwayne Brown in the back, right? and so just to be here and just to work through every moment, every obstacle. I thank God first. I thank this organization. Paul, even though he's not here, his presence is really here. Just the building, the facilities, everything that he's been able to, award us in terms of this opportunity to have great coaches, have a great staff, and have great executives and everything else. To everybody else in the back over there that's come down just to listen and experience is pretty amazing. Then obviously my teammates, the guys I get to go to war with every year, every game, every Sunday. It's a special thing, and just all the games we've been able to play, all the great moments, all the tough ones. It's because of guys like you. I think about the 2012 class too as well. I believe they gave us an F grade.
Yeah,
they gave us an F grade, and I think about guys like Bruce Irving, who's our first-round pick, and then obviously Bobby Wagner, who's been here for years and just been an absolute star. Just to be around him, just one of the things that Bobby and I always say: don't get bored with consistency. And I think that's something that we've really tried to pride ourselves on, and just and that work ethic. I obviously, as you mentioned, I thank obviously my agent Mark Rogers, who's been a best friend to me. He's been in my life. He's been in my life. My little daughters are there. She's making noise. Hey, Sienna.
Miss Sienna.
Yeah. But I think about Mark Rogers. Just he's been, my dad. Just a little quick story. My dad, he was on his deathbed, and in May of 2010, they didn't have many weeks left to live, and I was battling between football and baseball and what was going to happen, and if I was going to get drafted and everything else, and everything else, and I never forget. I met Mark Rogers at a little restaurant in Raleigh, North Carolina. He flew up, and I was searching. I had all these different baseball agents calling me, and I was searching for a good two-sport guy who knew about football. And sure enough, he had this guy Jeff Samardzija, I'm sure you all know about. And sure enough, I ended up talking to Mark Rogers on the phone. And next thing I know, he flew up the next day. It was supposed to be a 30-minute meeting. Next thing I know, we spent 5 hours together. And ever since then, he's been a major father figure in my life, a person that's just kind of guided me and allowed me to try to dream at the highest level. I thank my mom, I thank my dad. Both of those people in my life have made a major difference. My mom's faith has been unbelievable, even when my dad was on his deathbed, and not everything was the perfect situation. I thank my dad for waking me up early in the mornings and allowing me to get used to waking up and looking forward to waking up in the morning, and all the work ethic. my brother who used to run routes. He was older than me, but he ran routes and just catch every football and make every play for me, challenge me, block my shot in basketball and stuff me. And I think about my best friend Scott Pickett too, who was a guy who, no matter what time of the day it was, we'd throw football and I'd have him running out routes, I'd have him running post routes, and every summer, people like that. And then ultimately, I think my family, Sierra, just you're the way you are every day, your heart, the love that you share, and I thank God that He brought you in my life. You've been the best thing that's ever happened to me, and I think obviously being a stepdad too as well is one of the greatest miracles and one of the greatest things that I've ever experienced, and to be able to have that and share that, and to have our little daughter too. You never really know. You always think you're going to be a parent and you're looking forward to that, but to be able to have 2 kids and to see birth and to see life and to see that life progression, and that's why I wanted to be honest with you, that's why I wanted to be in Seattle, is just because really from the beginning of my professional career started here, and my goal was to end it here. My goal is to have a lasting impression on this city, is to be able to make a lot of people's lives cheer at the top of their lungs, and win a lot of football games and hopefully win a lot of Super Bowls. And I can't do it without you 2 guys next to me. I couldn't do it without you guys believing in me. I couldn't do it without my teammates making the difference. And so I'm just grateful for this opportunity. And when it came down to it, it was a no-brainer for me to want to be here in Seattle. And I want to be a Seahawk for life. So that was kind of my mentality. And the guys that I've always admired in sports, the guys that play at those locations for 15, 20 years, guys like Derek Jeter, I want to be like that. I want to be remembered in that sense of what we want to do here in Seattle. So we're just getting started, and I'm excited about where we're headed and what we're doing. We got a great football team, a lot of amazing talent, guys who work extremely hard, great character guys, and there's a lot of winning in this locker room. And so we're looking forward to making sure that we make that happen.
When you first started talking with Mark about this negotiation, what did you tell him was most important to you?
Well, I told him what was most important is, I just turned 30 years old, and I think the next 10 years of my life, the next deal, before we signed this one, the next deal was going to be the place that I really I wanted to make sure that, hey, if we're going to be in Seattle or wherever it's going to be, I want to make sure that's going to be where I'm going to be for the next 10 years, hopefully, and just that was kind of my mindset, from 30 to 40, and then, you reassess and you add on and everything else. But the reality is for the next 10 years, that was kind of my mentality. So I have experienced amazing 7 so far here, and it's just the beginning, like I said. And so, Seattle's home for us. We do everything out of here. We get to work with some amazing people. We get to win a lot of football games. The fans, this the 12s in general, just everywhere we go, and just the energy that we get to share in CenturyLink. It's a special place, and I wanted to be here. So that was our first priority, is to make sure, hey, we do everything we can to be in Seattle and make sure it's right, but also make sure it's we try to do something where it can take us the distance here.
Can you take us through what it was like late Monday night when you got the call from Mark?
Well, so the funny thing was, for us, just so you guys know, 'cause I'm sure you guys want to know about the April 15th thing. The reality was that we were coming back to play football. I'm a guy. I have a obsession with football. I just want to play the game, and I just want to be able to focus on that. I remember the first time we did, the other contract. It was one of those things that took us all the way to the summertime, right before training camp, literally like 11:50 at night, that summer and everything else. And it was the next day we were practicing. And so for me and for everyone involved, really, to be honest with you, the whole organization, it was really more so of a, hey, let's figure out how we can make sure that we don't have to drag out this whole process. Everybody writing, everybody talking, everybody speculating and these thoughts and this thought, and just remain focused on what I really want to do, and that's win, and do everything we can to prepare in that way. So on Monday night, when it came down to it, it was really it was about 11:50, 11:52 or something like that. Mark calls me, and the funny thing is, I called Mark at like 11:15. I said, hey, I think I'm gonna go to sleep. I could get practice in the morning, but if you call me, hopefully my phone's on loud. So, anyways, I get a call around 11:50, and it's Mark. He says, hey, I think we got a deal done. And what it really came down to is, I said, we just really kind of talked about, and John and Pete and Matt, and and Jody, everybody kind of, and Mark, we talked about, the idea of the no trade part just because of, we really wanted to be here. And that was the thing that we were really excited about. And that's kind of what really sealed the deal for us, and really was really fired up about. So that's when it all happened.
John, was the no trade clause, was that a tough thing for you guys to want to agree to, or how did that work out?
No, I mean, we want him to be here for life, right? So it's something that, I need to discuss with Jody, and yeah, it's something that I mean, it's part of a negotiation. There's a lot of different components to negotiations, and that was just one of them.
So do you usually go to bed with 3 chains on? Is that like
That's a good question.
I don't know. Yeah. So I guess I wear 3 chains every once in a while. But yeah.
What do you think of the Tyler and DJ remake?
That was hilarious. We came in here to work the next morning, and we were in the offensive meeting, and Coach Schottenheimer, he's going through, all the plays and everything we're installing. He's like, I got one thing I want to show you guys real fast, and sure enough, it's Tyler on the screen. I'm like, what's going on? And he's got 3 chains. And first of all, he's got Chris Carson's necklace on. He's got Nico Thorpe's easy chain on. Absolutely hilarious. And you don't see who's underneath the sheet and everything else. And sure enough, DJ Fluker pops out. I thought it was absolutely hilarious.
The fact that they picked Fluke too, like wow.
So that was good to post for sure.
John, the timing of this being, a week or so before the draft, what was that like?
It was a long weekend, yeah. I mean, it was like Russ said. I mean, the April 15th deal for us was a good idea. The last one, quite frankly, took too long, and took a lot of energy away from what we're supposed to be doing. So we thought it was a good idea on their part, and it worked out for both sides because we had to know what was going on and be able to clear our minds and be right. We had our guys are all upstairs right now. We're in the middle of draft meetings, draft preparation. We were doing that all weekend. Mark was here. He came Friday. We spent time with him there. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and we're just jumping in and out of meetings. But I think the clarity part was the biggest deal for everybody.
Russell, I know you always had really high hopes for your career, but when you got drafted in the 3rd round and all that, someday being the highest paid player in the NFL, is that something you could have kind of envisioned or dreamed of? I
never thought about being the highest paid player. I think I always did believe I'd hopefully be a great winner, though. That's just kind of my mentality. I didn't come here just to make it in the NFL. My goal was to be able to make a stamp, and Bobby and I had many conversations our first year, just before the season, about B-Wags, about just being great, and just being obsessed with being great and what that would be like and what we could do, and just proving people wrong. You got to remember something. Like I said, being 5'11", 5'10" out of Richmond, Virginia, being a
You're 5'11", say 5'11".
5'11". Coach says 5'11". Okay, good. But just being out of Richmond, Virginia, and everybody telling you no, you got a lot of things you want to accomplish. And I think about the next kid. To be honest with you, I think about the next player, the next person, somebody who's in Atlanta, Georgia, somebody who's in New York right now, somebody who's out of the country, wherever they are. If I can be a glimpse of inspiration, but it didn't just happen. Success doesn't just happen. Success leaves clues, and I think by hard work. I think by being surrounded around great teammates, great people, that's critical. And I was fortunate to come in 2012 with great teammates and great players around us. And we were all really young. I think we were the youngest team in the NFL at the time, second youngest team in the NFL, and we were just really hungry. And I think that's what we have in this locker room now. Guys that are just really dedicated to the game, dedicated to their craft, and it makes it fun to come to work. And honestly, Coach Carroll, he's one of the most consistent people I know. No matter what the circumstances are, he's always going to be positive. He's always going to uplift. He's always going to have fun. He always talks about competing. What he really means it. So I think that that was big for me just coming here. I was blessed with the right situation, the right time, and when John and Pete called me, when I got drafted. I'll never forget. I told him, this is going to be the best decision of your life. Hopefully, and so that was kind of my mentality. So from a football standpoint, yeah, football standpoint. Mary Trace was probably better, but just I was going to make the 31 other teams regret it, and that was my mentality, and so it still is today. And so I've just been fortunate, been very, very fortunate and blessed to be with great teammates, a great culture here, a great organization. There's no better place than here. So, and obviously a great city with amazing fans, the best fans in the world. So it's a special thing.
You mentioned 10 years. How much longer do you envision playing?
I want to play till my goal is to play 20 years. So it'd be 43ish around then. So that would be my goal, to be honest with you. And so that's what I'm looking forward to.
Me too.
Yeah.
You talk about wanting to stay in one place your entire career. As you go through this process, or even previous contract processes, when you think of that possibility of putting on another uniform, take us through that process of how that looks in your head, and maybe how you feel about that before you come back around to saying this is where I want to be.
Well, I didn't have to think about it too much. I mean, I think that it's a reality in professional sports. It's just a reality, just in anything you do. Any occupation. It's not just. I think that we always got to realize that we get to play this game. I'm fortunate to play this game, but it is our job, and it's it's something that we take very, very seriously. Every moment, every play, every day, every time we wake up. Our families too. All the hours that we have to spend away from our families and everything else, just because we're trying to make sure we win for our city, for our teammates, for everyone, for ourselves, everything else. As a team, and so. I think that ever since I put on the blue and green, this is what I've always envisioned in my life, is to wear this forever. It's always a reality that may not have been the case, but I think that was always my hope and my prayer and goal. And we're just getting started. There's a lot more to do. So we're not satisfied where we are and what we're doing.
Russ, when you left the building Monday afternoon, did you feel like a deal was going to get done?
Coach and I talked for a second. That's a good question. We talked for a second. We said, "Hey, listen, we're getting there. I mean, that's for sure." And and Mark, I got to give credit to Mark and John and Matt, just the amount of hours and focus and just dealing with this, making sure, hey, we do the right thing and do the best thing possible and everything else, and we want to win, and we also want to try to figure everything out. So that was they're the ones that we had the job of just coming to work and come to practice. That's the easy part for us. Mark Rogers, John and Matt, they're the ones that did a lot of work, and then obviously Jody too as well. Even so, that was I wasn't concerned, because I knew at that point it's going to be what it's going to be, and I realized that hopefully it's here, and hopefully we can do something for special.
John, you had a strong conviction about Russ back in 2012 with the draft coming up. Just, has this even exceeded any expectations you could have had for that pick in terms of what you thought of him as a player, and then?
Yeah, I knew we was going to be the highest paid player in the national history of the National Football League at that moment. No, I'd be lying to you if I thought. I had very strong conviction, but to win a Super Bowl as quickly as we did, and to compete with two super classy veterans and Matt Flynn and T-Jack, to come in like that. Once that happened, then it was on, and you could see that it was like Russ said, it was a really fun class. Like we loved the draft. Figuring out where we could take Bruce, how to get Bobby. Like how do we do this, and Russ. It's like, okay, there's and the whole group, Robert Turbin, and I mean it was a really fun class, and like Russ said, everybody comes out with all the stuff after. And actually, Pete and I just told the guys that came in, we have guys that come in for a 30 visit. We have guys that, we have a local visit. And we talked about, like, look, Friday night, congratulations, there's the first round. It's big celebration. Then you go Friday and Saturday. And then, on Sunday, everybody, tells you what a cruddy job you did in the draft, and then on Monday they move on to next year's class, and we were super excited about Russ and Bobby and Bruce, all those guys. It was a really Squeeze was in there. I mean, it was a Jay Lane. It was a really fun class. But did I yeah, I mean, I had very strong conviction. Pete knows. Paul knew. Paul called. Paul's not there. He wasn't there. He usually would come for the first round. You know, if we were picking high in the second round, he would stick around. And he called in, and we were still doing all the stuff on the phone. And he's like, so you, because he was questioning me about, you know, the height thing, you know. And I kept telling him, you know, I've been blessed to be around some great quarterbacks: Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, Rich Gannon. You know, I feel bad if I'm missing somebody, but anyway, yeah, I had very, very, very strong conviction like that. And Paul called in and was like, "So you took the little guy, huh?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I did, Paul. We did." And he just hung up, and I gave the phone back to Pete, and he's like, "What did he say?" And I go, "He didn't say anything, man." But then he was super fired up.
Were you surprised that Wilson fell to you in 2012 in that draft? But were you surprised you were able to draft him at all?
We were sweating it out, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
John had his sights on it early on, and
It's not.
so when it
it's
comes
hard.
down to it, yeah, we were
It's
sweating it out.
it's hard because you have to, you know, Bobby's right here, so we were like, okay, we take Bobby or Russell, you know what I mean? So which one we take first? Like, okay, we'll take our chance on the shorter quarterback last.
Of course, you
time.
took Bobby.
Sorry,
Bobby.
I'm sorry.
Did you get a sense of the sort of nervousness that was amongst the fan base, and then, you know, what sort of support and reaction have you seen since, you know, it seems like everyone's pretty relieved that you are going to be here for a long time?
Well, I think, you know, that was all of our goals, you know, is to be here, you know, and just, you know, make the right decision. And we really believe this is this is the right decision, the perfect place to be. So, you know, in terms of like the media stuff and all that, you feel it, you sense it, you know, you hear about stuff. I try not to read much, you know, just to be honest with you. Just try to stay focused on the mission. That's to make sure that I'm ready for this season, and that's really that, you know, let Mark and John and Matt handle all that. And Coach and I talked, you know, several times just about, you know, our mission and what our goals are and everything else, and it was all aligned. So we're all on the same page, and I think the ultimate goal was to do something, you know, special and do something here, and that's where I really wanted to be. So excited.
John, when Mark asked about the fate of the future of the franchise post Paul, what did he want to know, and what did you explain to him?
I think those are personal. I'm sorry, Art. Those are personal discussions. You know, there's a lot of stuff that goes into this, and you know, I'm not going to get into the specifics of it, but just to probably answer it as much as I possibly could is that, you know, Jody's in charge of the organization now. She's our boss, and it was great. She was super supportive. She was super involved. She was awesome.
How important was it just to get this sort of settled and know Russell's going to be the guy for the next 5 years here?
It was extremely important, yeah, for the continuity of this program, for the continuity of the following. The fans have known who we are and how we like to play, and Russ has ignited an energy about the games that we play and the style and from the offensive side. And you know, I thought it was really important for us, and we think we have a really good team, and we're really fired up about it. And to be able to maintain this continuity was extremely important for us, you know.
One of the talking points over the past couple of months has been 6 highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL last year and just the playoffs. What's your take on that, just the challenges?
Yeah, stop covering up your mouth. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Oh.
You can what? The
Top 6 quarterbacks.
Highest paid quarterbacks, 6 highest paid quarterbacks didn't make the playoffs last year, and people go, okay, well, it's too hard to spread the wealth if you pay the quarterback that much. What's your take on that and just the challenges of?
Well, it's a daily challenge. We're building our team. We're building our team all the way through. I mean, these guys have seen. I mean, we're not. Everybody, you know, gets hyper focused on the draft, and that's a huge. You know, it's probably 80-70% of our acquisition. But you know, we're claiming people all the time. We're bringing people in. We listen to we pride ourselves on being in every deal we possibly can. Look, all three of us have completely different jobs, right? And so the job on our end is to explore everything and put as many good guys on the field as you possibly can to work this massive puzzle that we have to work on a daily basis. We have 90 guys on our roster, right? So, you know, it's constant. Russ has seen the guys. I mean, he's had to he's had to play with some receivers that just came in like right away, and guys have been practice squad players, and we're constantly building that. We wouldn't have done this if we didn't have faith that we could build around Russ.
Can I add to that?
Please. I don't know if I answered
in
that well.
particular, I love that kind of challenge. He does too. We don't care about that, but we do like the opportunity to go ahead and kick butt on that kind of a thought. That you can't get it done. Yeah, it's kind of right up our alley. So ain't nothing wrong with that.
Russell, what excites you about the group that you have coming back here and going forward into the season?
Well, I think that every season, there's always people's thoughts. There's always people's ideas of what's going to happen, what they think is going to happen. There's critics, there's analysts, there's a little bit of everything. But the great thing about football is none of that matters. None of it matters. It's really about the 11 guys that you have on the field on defense, the 11 guys you have on the field on offense, 11 guys you have on the field on special teams, and doing that over and over and over again, and doing it right over and over and over again. And I think that, the reason why I bring that up is because, a lot of people thought we weren't going to be very good last year, and the thing is that you have to prove it every week, and so I think this year, just because we had a good year last year, in my opinion, it wasn't a great year because we didn't win it all. So we had a good year last year. So that was last year. And I think that what we've been able to learn here through our successes, and I think on all the wins that we've been able to have, is that you have to kind of recapture your identity. You have to recapture the work ethic. You have to recapture who you want to be and how you want people to remember you. And I think that's the thing that, with great leadership, guys like Bobby, guys like Dwayne, guys like Britt, guys like KJ, guys like Doug, and Tyler Lockett's of the world, and those guys. When you have that leadership and across the board, it's a lot easier to recapture that. And I think that we have the right guys in the room, the work ethic, the love in the room, and I think everybody's obsessed with winning. You don't just, I've said this to you guys before, winning just doesn't just happen. You have to be more obsessed with the process than the end result. And I think that I know that our football team is obsessed with the process of it. And so we're right in the midst of the beginning of it for 2019. So predicting what's going to happen and thinking about what's going to happen, that doesn't matter. You're wasting your time, because then you're thinking about things that don't matter, that you can't control. The thing you can't control today is how you work today. So I felt like we won today in the sense of how we worked today and how we went into meeting rooms and how we practiced and how we prepared. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
John, how much did you consider a non-traditional structure, and what was philosophically the decision you ended up at with this deal?
Great question. Appreciate it. But that's not something that we're going to discuss today. We're celebrating Russ's situation. I know there's a lot of discussion about that, but and I would have asked the same question, but I'm not going to get into it.
John, I think Russell, I may like to block out outside stuff, but did it bother you the talk of that you and your family would rather play somewhere in a bigger market, specifically in New York? Did it bother you that that was conversation for the past couple months, the New York thing?
Well, when you're in this position, you get used to people talking about a lot of different ideas, a lot of different things. So, if you get bothered by that, you're not going to make it in this game. And that's position, one of the hardest positions in the world to play in sports. So, I think you just keep your mind focused on what you need to do. And that's just preparing. So, it didn't bother me. It didn't. I think ultimately I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew I wanted to be here, and knew I wanted to be here for a long time. So. And that's why we did it. So that's why we're fired up about it, for Sierra and I and the kids and everything else, and just knowing, where a kid's going to go to school and those little things like that, and just waking up knowing that you're driving to work and you got great teammates in the locker room, knowing what you're going to get and knowing that everybody's going to lay it on the line every play. That's what I want to be around. That's what I'm excited to be around. So I was fired up to do this.
Russell, at age 30, do you just feel like you're just hitting your prime as a quarterback? Where do you feel?
Yeah, I think I'm just starting. That's the fun part about this, is that it's been pretty cool for the first 7 years of my career. But I feel like the glass is still full, and there's a lot more. And hopefully we can be on the overflow in the sense of where we want to go and how we want to do it. So. If you look at, just quarterbacks in the past, and I've been able to talk to a lot of guys, a lot of great quarterbacks, guys like Drew, guys like Tom, a lot of other guys as well. and just asking them about their careers and what made the differences for their careers and how it went and how they are right now. And that's where I want to be, and I think that ultimately you try to learn as much as you can. You can be on a constant quest for knowledge. You try to be dedicated every day and just stay focused on the task at hand. And so, just turning 30, I feel like I'm just beginning. So, hopefully I can play here for another 10 to 15 years.
Russell, just to take you off the field, what does this whole process do for the work you've done in terms of the Children's Hospital? What does this opportunity do for you, and how forward are you looking to expanding on that?
Well, yeah, I think one of the coolest parts is, just thinking about this community, and just thinking about, when I got here on May 10th, 2012, and calling Seattle Children's Hospital, and just being able to try to dive into this community and try to help in any way I possibly can, and it's not just to help people. It's try to influence people and try to make an impact. You know what I mean? I think there's a difference, and I think that to lend a helping hand as much as I can. And so for Sierra and I, we've been able to do a lot of cool things at Children's with our Why Not You Foundation, and be able to do a lot of amazing things around the community. And I've been fortunate to see literally, like, one of the coolest things I think about is just literally seeing kids like Milton Wright and different kids that I've been able to meet and encounter who literally go into a hospital room with cancer and walk out, hopefully in a few weeks, 2 weeks later with no more cancer. Like, that's the most rewarding thing that I get to do in terms of my position and my job and in my life, just seeing that, and just the different people and all my other teammates, that do amazing things, and to get to see those guys do amazing things in this community. And I think that that's what we set out to do, back in the day when we got here, and I think that's the plan, to continue to do that and make more of a difference, and try to encourage, like I said at in the beginning, is that, hopefully I can inspire somebody else, whether it's some young kid, some young girl, whoever it may be. And if I can change one kid's life, it's worth it, And so, for me to be here standing on this stage with John and Pete and this organization and everything else, every early morning, every late night, every opportunity, every disappointment, every high, every low, it's been worth it. And I think that, like I said, it's just beginning.
Okay, thank you. We're going to do a quick photo op with the family.
Thank you, guys. Go Hawks. Yep.